Yo, guys, continuing my look back at the Back to the Future trilogy, this time with Back to the Future 2, um, which I've stated is, when I was a kid, it was my favorite one. But I'll just say one thing about this Blu-ray collection real quick. I'm generally pretty happy with it. The extras on it are pretty cool. Granted, I haven't gotten through all of them, but, I like the retrospective stuff, like where they show the people now, or whatever it was a couple years ago, talking about it. But maybe I'll eventually check out the commentaries, and there's lots of stuff on here. Some of it isn't, like, some of the retrospective documentaries are kind of short. They're like 10, 15 minutes, but there's more on this than you get on a lot of things. One thing I don't like though is the packaging for it. It comes in this like sleeve, and then it's just like this thing that opens up with the discs in it, as you can see, and it doesn't seem ideal to me. I don't know. It feels cheap. I'd rather have Blu-ray cases, like the thin little Blu-ray cases, somehow inside of like a tin or something. Instead, I feel like I have to keep this stupid sleeve. But anyways, on Back to the Future 2, I just rewatched it again, and it is a really fun sequel. Like, it is what I think the sequel should have been. Basically, I mean, they're basically just having a lot of fun with the time travel elements of it. Where the first one kind of, once it gets to 1955, most of it takes place there. This is like, let's have fun with the plot and what we could do with time travel, and what we could do with the characters over time and stuff. And it basically begins right where the first one ends, where Doc shows up again. He's like, "We have to go to the future," you know, and the DeLorean can fly now, and you know apparently Doc went to the future, and Marty's kids, Marty and his girlfriend's kids, I forgot her name. His son gets into some trouble, like he was gonna do a robbery or some sort of theft. He gets arrested for theft, and he gets put in jail for like an insane amount of time, and then his daughter goes to break his son out, and she gets put in jail. It's kind of goofy, like it's goofy setup. And like, why would he be put in jail for so long for doing this? And they try to explain it. They're like, oh, the justice system is very swift now, and well, it doesn't even explain why he would go to jail for so long. But I guess justice is a little crazy in the future. But anyways, I'm dwelling too much on this one thing. They go to the future, and then Biff in the future finds out they have the time machine, and he steals the sports almanac and brings it to the past, altering the past. And so there's all sorts of crazy shit. I mean, you guys have seen it, but um, I like their vision of the future. Like, it's really cool. Like when I was a kid, like when this first came out, it was very cool. Now it's cool, like in a kind of goofy way, because we're like almost at that 2015, and it's nothing like that at all. Like, there's little things here and there that they kind of get, like when he's talking on the phone in this one scene, and it's like this giant screen, um, in his office or whatever. There's like information about the person he's talking about, like their hobbies, their date of when he was born and where he lives and shit. So there's like elements of like social network stuff, and how you could video chat with anyone now. But there's no cell phones in this, and just really goofy shit though. Like, the clothes I thought was the funniest part. Like, it doesn't look like it looks like bad 80s clothes. Like, and them trying to be the future, which is exactly what it is. But One thing I really like about their vision of the future in this is that it's the only vision of I've seen of the future where it's kind of happy, like an optimistic, and just things are cool. I remember I was taking a media course in college, and the professor was like, "The future is always bad in the movies. Like, why? Try to name one movie where the future's good." I like raised my hand in this big auditorium. He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Back to the Future 2." And everyone started laughing, and he was just like, "I haven't seen this Back to the Future 2." And I was like, "You're a media professor? You supposedly study the media, you've never seen Back to the Future 2?" But anyways, I like their vision of the future. There's always been like all these things that I thought were cool, and like when I was little, when I was a kid, I wanted them. Like I love the tiny pizza that they get, and I forgot what it was. It was like Domino's or something. I just watched it, but I forgot. It was like a Domino's pizza or something, and then they put it in a hydrator, and it hydrates it. It comes out like in 4 seconds as a perfect pizza. The hoverboard, of course, that would be awesome. Um, of course, flying cars. Um, and just cool things, just seeing how they change the town, and then there's like an '80s cafe where it's like the retro cafe or whatever. But it's just cool seeing like this, what they thought the future might be like. The shoes that tie themselves, and the clothes that like for some reason would dry themselves. Like not practical at all. But I liked their vision of the future. I liked, and then when Biff alters the past, he changes 1985 into like a total hellhole. And I thought that was fun. Like at one point, Marty like runs into Strickland, his like principal or whatever. I think it was his principal or just some asshole teacher. I think it was the principal. The guy comes out with like a shotgun. He's like, "What are you doing? I knew you were the kid that was stealing my newspaper." And they're like talking for a minute, and all of a sudden, like these kids like are driving by. They're like, "Hey, Strickland!" And they like just do a drive by on his house. Just like a total hellhole. Um, I thought that was cool. And then, of course, probably the coolest part now when you look back on it is um, then he's forced to go back in the past to 1955 to stop Biff from handing off the sports almanac to his younger self. And I mean, it's just cool that they got to basically go back inside of the first movie and just show you things from a different angle and add layers to what was going on there. Um, I don't know. It's all around. It's a fun movie. I think it lacks something that made the first one special, like that heart at its core. Where I mean, in the first one, like the cool thing about the first one is this kid going back to his past, and getting to see what his parents were like when they were teenagers, and then getting to affect that and affect them meeting, and then make sure having to make sure that it happens, and then actually changing his parents for the better. Like that core charm here, it's not so much like there's things that happen that he changes, and he has to fix them again, make everything right, but it just doesn't have that simple, I don't know, magic or whatever, or charm that the first one had. Um, not to shit on Back to the Future 2 at all. I enjoy the movie. As I said, when I was a kid, it was my favorite. Now watching them again, I have to say I kind of like the first one more. I don't know, but it could just be I saw Back to the Future 2 a lot when I was a kid. I loved it, so I don't know. It's cool, it's fun, but then here with all of the and this was just like heavy on the time travel stuff in the plot, and it's fun though. You get to see a lot of different time periods. There's a lot of cool ideas about time travel, but then there's just like certain things that like kind of weird, kind of stick out when you're doing this much time travel. There's like little plot holes and things like time travel is very tricky to write, but I don't know. A few things I thought were weird, like in the beginning they're going to save Marty's kids in the future, but it seems to me like there's a bigger problem with, you know, Marty in the future. His life isn't that good. Like he hasn't turned out how he wanted to be, and it seems like maybe if that was fixed, then maybe the kids wouldn't be a problem. I know maybe it's like a weird nitpick, but it seems like something minor that like the doc's like we have to fix this in the future, but I'm not gonna tell you about yourself. I don't know. I know it's probably stupid, but um, and then like when Biff goes back, like he steals their car while they're trying to get uh Michael J. Fox's girlfriend out of their house. Biff steals the car, and when he comes back, like shouldn't their 2015 be changed by what Biff did and not just the 1985 past? Like shouldn't if Biff goes back to 1955 and change the future, wouldn't not just 1985 be changed, but also 2015? You know, it seems kind of weird. Um, I don't know. It's just nitpicking. The movie's fun. I enjoy it a lot. I don't really know what to say about it. Like, there's lots of cool things. Um, I mean, there's like little things you could talk about. Like, one thing I think is really cool is Tom Wilson in this is who this guy who plays Biff. I think he gives a really good performance just because he's asked to play Biff so differently in so many different ways. Like, you get Biff as like this like Donald Trump but total asshole guy, but then Biff as like an old man, like a grumpy old man. Biff as a kid, and he plays them all so well and like so differently. And it's really weird if you see the behind the scenes stuff. Like Tom Wilson's not at all like Biff. Like he's just like a nice guy. So I was like impressed by that. The makeup work in it is really good. All of them like playing the different. Yeah, Michael J. Fox playing like he plays his son, he plays himself. The 1985 version of Michael J. Fox, he plays his older self really well. He actually plays his daughter briefly in this. It's kind of goofy. Um, Leah Thompson, I can't as Lorraine as his mom. She has lots of different looks, and she does really well with each of the variations on herself that she plays. And then there's a couple weird things I learned from like watching some of the behind the scenes stuff, for instance, well, Robert Zemeckis for some reason hated doing the future stuff the most because he's like it's just guessing. It's like, well, yeah, isn't that the fun of writing about the future? Is that you're guessing, like you're making shit up. I don't know. That was weird. But like, there's weird things that I never even noticed. Like, I don't know how I've never noticed this as a kid, but Michael J. Fox's girlfriend is played by someone different in this as the first one. It's Elizabeth Shue in this, and I guess I don't know how I never picked up on this as a kid, but it was someone else in the first one, and I really feel really bad because I can't remember her name now. But she like dropped out of the movie biz shortly before this one came out, and they did a good job. Like her hair and Elizabeth Shue's hair and the clothes she's wearing, like it's almost pretty seamless and scary. Even weirder is I never noticed that Crispin Glover isn't in the second one, and you find out he's dead. Like George McFly is dead in one version of 1985, but that was written in there because Crispin Glover thought he was like gonna be a big star, and he wanted way too much money to do it. And they're like, "Screw you! We'll just write you out of the story," which they did as much as possible. But there's one scene in the future, in the 2015 in the future, like where um, Marty's parents like come over for dinner, and that's when they have the pizza and stuff. And George McFly is in it, and he's like hanging upside down because he's injured or something. And whoever they got to play like the guy, like they did heavy like makeup and make him look old, but the guy was just good at giving like an approximation of Crispin Glover, where like If you didn't tell me it wasn't Crispin Glover, I just wouldn't have noticed. I would just been like, oh, it doesn't look like him because he has lots of makeup. But other things, I mean, and what's weird here is this is letting me go over 15 minutes. So someone tell me if there's been like some sort of extension here on, or maybe I got extended somehow. I have no idea, but let me know about that. I'll just do one more thing real quick. I know I've been going on really long, but some of the special effects in this one don't